Your dog looked at you this morning, not the way it looks at the door or the food bowl or the sound of a car outside. It looked at your face. It held the eye contact for a few seconds longer than it needed to. Most people read that as affection. The research says something else was happening. The dog was running a scan. Not for threat, not for food, for something more specific than either of those. It was reading you. And by the time it looked away, it had already made a decision about you that you will never be told. The question of whether animals can actually assess your character sounds like something that belongs on a refrigerator magnet, not in a peer-reviewed journal. But over the last 2 decades, a series of controlled experiments have produced results that are genuinely difficult to explain away. Animals are not just reacting to how you move or how loud you are. Some of them appear to be evaluating what kind of person you are, and they are doing it by watching how you treat other people. In 2015, a research team at Kyoto University led by Hitomi Chijiwa designed an experiment to test whether dogs form opinions about humans based on social behavior that doesn't involve the dog at all. The setup was simple. A dog watched its owner struggle to open a container. In one condition, a stranger stepped in and helped. In another, the stranger turned away and refused. A third person sat in the room and did nothing. Afterward, both the stranger and the neutral person offered the dog a treat. When the stranger had been helpful, the dog showed no preference. It took food from either person roughly equally. But when the stranger had refused to help the owner, the dog consistently rejected food from that person and chose the neutral one instead. The dog did not just notice who was unhelpful, it avoided them. This was the first published evidence that dogs make social evaluations of humans in interactions where the dog itself has absolutely nothing to gain or lose. It watched, it judged, and it remembered. But it does not stop at watching. Dogs can smell what is happening inside your body before you are fully aware of it yourself. A study published in PLOS One in 2022, conducted by researchers at Queen's University Belfast, collected breath and sweat samples from humans before and after a stress-inducing task. The dogs in the study were then presented with those samples alongside base samples from the same individuals. They identified the stress samples with an accuracy of 93.75%. Not from body language, not from vocal tone, from volatile organic compounds, the chemical byproducts that shift in your body when your sympathetic nervous system activates. Your internal state changes your chemical signature under stress, and dogs detect that change the way you detect a shift in someone's voice, except they do it faster and from across the room. A follow-up study published in Scientific Reports in 2024 went further. Dogs exposed to the scent of a stressed human became measurably more pessimistic in ambiguous situations. Less likely to approach something unfamiliar, more cautious, more withdrawn. Your anxiety is not private, it is being broadcast chemically to every dog in the room. And it is changing how they behave. Horses go further than scent. A 2016 study at the University of Sussex, published in Biology Letters, showed photographs of human faces to domestic horses. Some faces displayed angry expressions. Others were happy. When the horses viewed the angry faces, their heart rates increased significantly. They also turned to look at those faces with their left eye. This is a behavior observed across multiple species when processing negative stimuli, because the left eye feeds into the right hemisphere of the brain, the side specialized for evaluating threats. The horses were not just seeing the expression. They were routing it through the part of their brain built to decide whether something is dangerous. But the finding that unsettled the researchers came 2 years later. A follow-up study published in Current Biology in 2018 showed horses a photograph of a person with either an angry or happy expression. Hours later, the horses encountered the same person in a completely neutral state, no expression, no cues. The horses that had previously seen the angry photograph approached that person with visible caution and suspicion. They remembered the face, they remembered the emotion attached to it, and they adjusted their behavior hours later based on a single photograph they had seen once. A horse you smiled at this morning treats you differently than a horse you frowned at. The animal filed your face, tagged it with an emotional verdict, stored it and retrieved it the moment it saw you again. Now consider what this means when stacked together. In 2015, a study led by Miho Nagasawa and colleagues, published in Science, revealed something about the dog-human relationship that reframed the entire bond. When dogs and their owners engage in prolonged mutual eye contact, both the dog and the human experience a significant spike in oxytocin, the same hormone that mediates the attachment between a mother and her newborn infant. The feedback loop is nearly identical. Eye contact triggers oxytocin in the dog, which triggers more gazing, which triggers oxytocin in the human, which encourages more eye contact. The researchers tested hand-raised wolves under the same conditions. The loop did not activate. This mechanism appears to have evolved specifically in domestic dogs during the process of domestication. They did not just learn to coexist with us. They developed a neurochemical system that plugs directly into the bonding architecture humans use for their own children. When your dog looks at you and you feel something warm and certain, that feeling is not sentimental. It is a hormonal event that the dog's biology is specifically designed to trigger. The next question is whether any of this amounts to an animal actually knowing if someone is good. Goodness is a human category. Animals do not operate in moral frameworks. But certain species have something that looks structurally very close. In 2003, Sarah Brosnan and Franz study in Nature involving Capuchin's monkeys performing a simple exchange task. Two monkeys sat in adjacent cages. Both handed a token to a researcher and received a cucumber slice in return. They were content with the arrangement. Then the researchers changed the deal. One monkey received a grape, a far superior reward, while the other still got cucumber for the same effort. The monkey receiving the lesser reward refused to participate. It stopped handing over the token. In some cases, it threw the cucumber back at the researcher. It was not confused. It was not hungry. It had watched another individual receive a better outcome for identical work, and it refused to accept the disparity. Brosnan and DeWall concluded that a sensitivity to fairness and aversion to inequitable treatment is not unique to humans. It exists in cooperative species because the ability to recognize when you are being shortchanged is what keeps cooperative relationships from collapsing. So what does a dog actually know when it evaluates you? Not your morality, not your values in any abstract sense. It detects the chemical profile of your emotional state, whether your body is producing the molecular signature of stress, aggression, calm, or fear. It watches how you behave toward others and forms preferences based on what it observes. It reads the configuration of muscles in your face and files that, reading alongside an emotional tag, it retrieves hours later when it sees you again. And when it meets your eyes, it activates a bonding loop shaped across thousands of years of coevolution to make you feel exactly what you are feeling right now. The honest answer is that animals cannot tell if you are a good person. They do not have access to your intentions, your history, or your inner life. What they can do is read the output, the chemical, behavioral, and social signals your body produces as a consequence of who you are. A person carrying chronic stress smells different from a person at ease. A person who treats others with contempt moves differently, speaks differently, holds tension in places a calm person does not. A person who consistently behaves with patience and quiet steadiness produces a constellation of signals, chemical, postural, vocal, facial, that animals detect with sensory hardware more precise than anything humans have ever engineered. They cannot read your character, but they can read everything your character produces. And for most practical purposes, the distance between those two things is smaller than you would like it to be. The dog that looked at you this morning was not judging you. It was reading you. And what it found is something you will never fully see, because it is the version of you that exists only in the signals you cannot control. Whether that version matches the person you believe yourself to be is a question the dog already answered. It just has no way to tell you what it decided. That's all for today. Anyway, please donate or subscribe to fund the next video.